Yo guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another Doctor Who video. And in today's video we're going to be basically talking about the true reason why Season 3 has not been confirmed yet. And I'm going to go over basically everything that I personally know, as well as showing you a screenshot from a source which I managed to get a while ago. But yeah, it's basically a screenshot, and I'm going to go ahead and read over what is said on that screenshot, and potentially a reason for why they need Season 2 to come out before that they can properly decide, you know, whether they're gonna drop a green light for Season 3, essentially. So yeah, got a few things to go over in this whole video, but if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We drop brand new Doctor Who videos every single Tuesday. We've got a couple of extra ones coming out over Christmas as well, including different reviews of different items and merchandise from Doctor Who, the most recent stuff that's came out, including brand new Doctor Who figures, also Doctor Who Sonic Screwdriver reviews, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, stay tuned and hit that subscribe button for more content on this channel. And also, if you enjoy these kind of videos and you like Doctor Who, then just smash a like on this video as well, because it all does help with the whole channel overall. And yeah, so let's get into this whole video. So yeah, this is the real reason as to why Season 3 of Doctor Who has not been greenlit yet. So I will eventually read out the bit, but basically a couple of reasons why I think it hasn't been greenlit yet is because, number one, which could be probably the most obvious one, this is a fairly new show to Disney+. It hasn't been given to any of these huge streamers yet. It's not like Doctor Who has been a primarily released thing on anything but BBC iPlayer at this point, which is, you know, pretty strictly for the UK audience. I mean, it has been released on a couple of different things, but not live, whilst they've been releasing the actual current series. So, for example, I know the classic era was available to watch at one point on X random, I don't know the exact name of the streaming platforms which did supply this, but I know it has been sort of available to watch, but nothing on this scale before. So I would get that Disney would want to essentially fund the first 2 seasons and then sort of take a step back, have a look at the viewing figures for these seasons, have a look at the metrics on how many people have kept their Disney Plus subscriptions, how many new people have signed up for Disney Plus after Doctor Who being aired on it, because obviously some people will just subscribe to Disney Plus for the main reason of watching Doctor Who in a foreign country, which is it's not available in on like BBC iPlayer, etc. And yeah, there's a couple of different reasons as for why this could realistically happen, and as for why, you know, they could be holding off. And first of all, I think 2 seasons is very generous. They have basically funded the 60th anniversary specials, which were a big thing. You know, you've got 3 episodes there, but 3 episodes had quite a bit of money spent on them. And, you know, you've also got to remember, they put a good amount of money down. Millions and millions of pounds were spent on Season 1, and obviously they're going to want a good return on that to invest the money into that and continue investing money into that. A big thing recently is the Star Wars show The Acolyte, and that did not bring very, very good returns. It was widely critiqued and hated by a lot of Star Wars fans out there, and as a result of that, it has been cancelled for a 2nd season. But I mean, it pretty much shows, like, if the fans love what is being released, then Disney sees that obviously the viewership is very, very good. For example, The Mandalorian has had multiple seasons and has recently had a film commissioned as well. So, you know, for shows like that pull in a lot of viewers and keep eyeballs on Disney Plus, they're more likely to get renewed for, you know, more seasons and, yeah, have them funded by Disney. But as you can see by, I mean, Star Wars as an example, The Acolyte obviously got axed. The second season got cancelled, and I mean, in my opinion, rightly so. It was probably one of my least favourite Star Wars series as of now. You know, you can't really compare it to something like The Mandalorian or, you know, something like Andor, for example. Andor is just a huge other level above it, but this isn't a Star Wars video. But yeah, as you can see, Disney are no stranger for cancelling seasons if they don't do particularly well enough. So Doctor Who is not out of the firing range with this, and it's definitely possible that they could, you know, not renew it, but it's also very, very possible that they could renew it as well, because Doctor Who is a pretty big and successful franchise in itself. Well, the entire show itself is very, very successful, especially in the UK, and, you know, widening markets as well, because back in 2011, I believe it was, back in 2011, 2012, somewhere around that era of Doctor Who, when Doctor Who Series 6 was hitting our screens, it also aired on BBC America, and this actually created a huge American audience for the show as well. So that is another positive to having Disney Plus, well, Disney essentially funding this, because, well, there's an interest for the market, I suppose. There is an interest in Doctor Who elsewhere other than just the UK, which is a positive for the show, and it's just, yeah, it's a good positive thing. So, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this little extract which I pulled from somewhere, as you can see right here. So here is the screenshot right here, and it says, "That's not quite right. He claimed that all of the people who had subscribed for a month to Disney Plus to watch Doctor Who, only 30% renewed after the first 4 episodes had dropped." So, essentially what they are saying is that basically with Doctor Who Season 1, allegedly only 30% of the people who had signed up for their subscription cancelled after a month. And I'm not really opposed to this, because Doctor Who Season 1, the more I watch this first season, the more I think, well, it's not particularly the best start to a Doctor Who season. And we can compare it to multiple different seasons. Like, for example, the first opening episode of Series 1, the original reboot, is Rose. Such a you know, it's such a grounded episode. The episode is set on Earth. It sets up the premises of Doctor Who. It introduced the Ninth Doctor in a perfect way, whilst also introducing Rose in a really, really nice way. As well, you are introduced to Rose's family in this episode. You get quite a lot of new faces in the episode, and instantly they become very likeable as people. And I think this grounded approach was a really, really good way to reboot the series as well for brand new viewers. It's such a good jumping on point for the brand new viewers of Doctor Who, and for many these episodes were really, really good. And, you know, Series 1 is such a strong series. Even though the Ninth Doctor only has 1 series, he is one of the most memorable Doctors in the era and has a hell of a lot of love from the fans. And well, it's kind of notable in his episodes. They have, you know, the Ninth Doctor has some absolutely great episodes, which are some of my favourite of that era. Like, for example, Dalek. Dalek is one of the best Dalek-based episodes out there, I think. Just the idea of one lone Dalek can be so powerful and destroy so much and cause so much chaos. It's like one Dalek could literally wipe out the entire human race, and the threat of the Daleks is massive. Even though the Dalek is damaged, chained up within a vault which is underneath concrete and underground, you know, the threat is still there for the Daleks. And I would argue that this story made the threat of the Daleks even more so than some of the previous Doctors had done, and definitely a lot of the more modern Doctor Who stories. And Christopher Eccleston continued that with Parting of the Ways, and that whole story as well. The Daleks definitely seem menacing. The reveal of the Dalek Emperor was definitely a big threat in that story, and it's not just the Daleks. The Ninth Doctor introduced the Slitheen, which, again, another really, really well-known kind of, you know, comedic villain, but, you know, Doctor Who is about that as well. We get our comedic villains, but they also work really, really well as a villain, and some of, again, the most memorable, fun episode of the Ninth Doctor's era. And I think that the Ninth Doctor's era was a really, really good way of how Doctor Who could be rebooted in just the best way possible. And Season 1 doesn't really do that in the same way, which is why a lot of this depends on Season 2. And as, well, Season 1, let's just go through Season 1 first. So, you have the first episode, which is technically Space Babies, which is a whistle-stop tour of Doctor Who, mashed up with Space Babies and a bogey monster. This is not really the most iconic sort of thing. Like, personally, if I say Space Babies with CGI faces and a bogey monster or the Autons, I'd probably pick the Autons every time. Then going on with the second episode, The End of the World, you have a really, really good threat in that episode. You have a bunch of, you know, the Doctor and Rose is on this spaceship and they get trapped at the end of the world, and everyone could literally die from the world imploding and being enveloped by the sun. And actually, again, just a really, really great story, introduces a lot of things that are quite interesting, and yeah, I really enjoyed that storyline overall. But then you got The Devil's Cord, which, again, in my opinion, pretty strong episode, probably one of the strongest kind of in the series, definitely better than Space Babies in my opinion in some regards, but then again you get things like the Beatles just getting absolutely no screen time in it, like considering the episode is partially based on the Beatles, it seems a bit unfair to not really give them much screen time. And then you have that musical number at the end which feels massively out of place and unnecessary, and you got this episode which, when you compare it to The End of the World, it just doesn't, it kind of pales in comparison. But one thing that I will give credit to for Season 1 is the third episode, Boom. I think that's the strongest episode of the season, and it's also written by Stephen Moffat, which, again, Stephen Moffat was probably the writer who kind of, my first big writer of Doctor Who, so I do have a bit of a love for his stories, but ultimately at the same time, he did write a lot of good stories in Doctor Who. Series 5 is a pretty good example of that, and I do like a lot of the stories from Series 5, among a lot of his other stories and work as well. So I'm kind of happy that Stephen Moffat has came back to write the Christmas special for this year, Joy to the World. And this Christmas special is actually very, very important to Doctor Who being renewed as well, because, yeah, it's the first piece of media that introduces the second season. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, out of everything, I'd say they definitely need the sort of... They definitely need Season 2 to outdo Season 1 to give us a 100% chance of... Or like a better chance of getting a Season 3 on Doctor Who. Because at the moment, it's kind of looking up in the air. Like, although there are some good points to Season 1, there is also plenty of critics and people who would like point out all the flaws within Season 1, and there definitely is flaws in Season 1 which become a lot more obvious when you do rewatch it a couple of times. Groundingly more obvious, especially with that finale of Season 1, and yeah, that deserves a whole video in itself. I'm not even gonna lie. But with all of that sort of said and done, I think the best way to sort of collect this video and sort of end off on this whole video is, yeah, I think Season 1 is not enough data for Disney Plus to make a decision. I think they do need the second season, and a lot of shows do thrive within their second season. You know, Series 2 of Doctor Who being a big point, you know, the first series of David Tennant did bring a lot of new viewership to the show. And yeah, it was a great series. You had masterpieces like Doomsday. Like, Doomsday is a really, really good episode of Doctor Who. One of my favourite episodes ever, and it probably one of the most memorable episodes ever as well. And yeah, I think that does show how much potential is in Season 2 of this new rebooted series. And I think if they get this right, and that is a big if they can nail this season, it could really, really show some great things for the future of Doctor Who. And a potential successful reboot, even, of the series. But, and there is a big but involved with this, if Season 2 falls flat, I think there's a pretty good chance that they could decide not to fund another season of Doctor Who. And if that is the case, and they have to go back to the older budgeting and downgrade the quality, etc., then it could definitely put a barrier or a hurdle in the revival of this like new Doctor Who era. But we'll see how things pan out in the coming months, and I'm excited to watch the second season. I'm excited to watch this year's Christmas special, and yeah, I'm going to be reviewing them on this channel, so subscribe. But yeah, that basically makes it to the end of this Doctor Who video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe as always, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.